Hey, folks. I know you could be listening to one of a million different podcasts right now, and I am super grateful you picked this one. Welcome to The Human Show. I'm your host, Trish, a holistic life coach and a mom navigating this complex world of human emotions. Here, we will share stories, insights, research, and information to help you step into the most true version of yourself so you can be a happy human. Now let's get into it. It's happening. All right.
I like your sound booth.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
nice.
My friend says it looks like I'm in a DJ booth. So
It does.
I'm DJ
Maybe you
Trish.
are DJ
Ready.
Trish. Very good.
Uh, um, well, thank you. Thank you for taking the time to chat with me.
Thank you for the invite. I was
Yeah.
I was excited for when you sent out the opportunity, and then as I was sitting with the stuff you shared over email, and I was just I appreciate the opportunity to chat, to converse. I passionate, dedicated my life to this stuff, and so any opportunity to be inside of it and swim in it and sharing it makes me happy. So thank you.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, I can tell that your work is really important to you. And that's one of the reasons I was really excited to chat with you. Um, so, uh, if you could, why don't you share what you would like people to know about you before we get into our conversation?
Ooh, that's a great question. um, Let me go into my heart. What would I like people to know about me? Um, in this moment of my life, in this chapter, um, my work and my life, I don't see those as different things, are dedicated to this amazing, infinite inquiry about the universal and the individual and how those things play with each other. This macro of the stars and the universe, the solar rays. We just had some aurora borealis in Seattle here this weekend. How that's shining on all of us all the time. The sun is shining its rays on all of us all the time. These universal truths of being and becoming, and emotions and love and death and tragedy. These universal themes, how those play with our individual unique fingerprint and story, and how those go back and forth. So our individual expression, the the unique version of that, and then how that goes back into the everything. So that's what I'm really interested about, and whether that comes out in dance or movement or touch or words or music, um, politics, that's what really fascinates me. So this interplay between the universal and the individual. Um, yeah, I hope that was. I hope people listen. It's not. I don't mean that as a metaphor at all. I mean that quite literally.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, like quite literally. Like we share this air we breathe, but the way my lungs process it is my style. Every animal, like this biologist who said, every animal, every plant has style, and I believe that we all have style. The way we go through our life, the way we walk our story, and there's an atmosphere that contains all of us. The air we're all swimming in. It's a big fluid membrane. So that fascinates me, interests me all the time. So in this moment, I'd say that.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. And the way when you were talking about how, we're all breathing the same air, but we have a different style. It just kind of reminded me of, that's like perception.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of
Mm-hmm.
us can be in the same space and all have very unique experiences. in that same space, which is always pretty wild to me.
Yeah. Yeah. We all see a different movie in the same theater.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good way to say it.
I think, I
Yeah,
mean, the
so
way it plays out in dance, as an example, is like the same
mm,
song,
mhm,
but how we hear it and how that moves through ourselves, how the music moves us is is unique, and that's so beautiful. That's so beautiful that it's unique, but then we also share it, and it's that exchange. I think that that's also, if I add one chapter to the answers, it's the exchange between those things, that inquiry
mm,
of the universal and the personal, and then how do we exchange?
yeah,
What's the communication, the energetic transmission between us,
yeah.
or the tree too? I mean, I don't mean just humans, but yeah.
So, you are, um, how do I want to say this? You're you've been dancing for a long time since you were young, right? So you've been, I mean, I read, I know you all have also played sports and you've done lots of things, but it seems like dance has really been a passion for you. And from what I've read, a little bit of research I did on you, you
Uh-huh.
have been dancing since you were young, and it seems like you kind of you kind of moved, you transitioned into more than just dance, and it seems like you just really appreciate movement in general. And so I wanted to ask you about, like, when or how did your perspective sort of change about dance as being more than just a physical experience?
Mm. I think when I was a very young kid, and my mom put me in creative movement classes, and where we got to walk around like bears and crabs and make animal sounds. When I was a little kid, I there was something deep underneath that understood the wisdom of that. Um, and I think it's like full circle. I've come back to that place where in the qigong practices and a lot of the work I do, it's like recapturing that play, that animist quality of being alive and embracing the tree, and being the crane, and all these ways in which we can shapeshift and transform. Uh, so I think dance started as a very spiritual experience, even though as a 4 year old I wouldn't have described it like that,
Mm,
and it's come all the way back to that place. And in the interim, it went to uh, it was a way that I could marry my desire to move and be physically expressive with my desire to be emotive. So playing sports, even I did a lot of theater growing up. And I did dance on and off. I sort of ping ponged in and out of it. But it wasn't until I was halfway through college that I really went back and dedicated myself to dance, because I needed this emotional release. Something uh, something needed to come out. Something needed to be worked through, and dance was a way I could do that. So it was a physical. It was like in sports. I feel like I couldn't be as free and emotive through the body, and then um, in theater, in a way, it was like through words, through text, through ideas, and it's like I wanted something underneath that. I wanted something more visceral. So I got back to dance. By the way, I don't really think that theater and sports are in those places now. I see them all swimming in the same similar pool of, but
mhm,
in my 19-year-old mind and body. Uh, so dance became, in my early 20s, this opportunity to be physically creative, to be physically emotive, and it wasn't always easy. Still is not always easy uh, to express myself, to express my emotions through words, or to explain it. But dance was always a vehicle to do that for me. So it's been a regulation practice. It's a healing practice for me. The things that can't be said, the nonverbal things that can be felt and shared in that way. Dance was a vehicle for that. Then, as I started in my 20s and then early 30s, like really in the career of dance, um, understanding that expression and embodiment is a healing practice. That dance at its core has always been a way to connect with others, to connect with the elements, to connect with nature, to bring the rain, to honor death, to celebrate life, to bless food, um, and understanding even touch and body work as a dance of energy. So, in a long way roundabout, to answer your question, is I think dance has had different iterations, from the physical to the emotional to the spiritual to the communal, like how I engage with the world, to the very individual. And um, and at this moment, I think it's such a beautiful. It's like one of those crystal prisms where you shine the light and it refracts to everything. Like, how do I dance when I chop the onions? Meaning, what's the rhythm there? What's the spirit? What's the style? What's uh, the way that I engage with life? If I'm walking down the street, what's my je ne sais quoi? you know, my French is terrible for those people. But what's the attitude inside of it? What's the spice? What's the umami? What's the flavor? And I think that's missing in a lot of our contemporary dominant cultures. All those things, our style, our flavor, our spice, the way in which we just honor this crazy thing called life. It's like, what is this? We're alive. What's happening? And dance is a vehicle to ask that question every day. And so I use that. I mean, when I do body work, when I teach body work, when I do workshops, and I do it, to me is a dance between those two bodies. It's a partner. It's a pas de deux. Um, and even in meditative practices, stillness, there's a dance of my awareness. There's a dance of my breath. Um, so yeah, I guess one of my important things, how do I take that word dance out of its triggering nature in our culture? Dance is, I don't do that. I can't do that. I don't have rhythm. Dance is this thing that has steps. Dance is the thing that has genres. Dance is this thing that makes me feel uncomfortable. Dance is this thing where I'm exposed. It's all these associations um, that I work in my work to undo that coupling of dance and trauma, dance and shame, dance and performativity, um, even in performance. And I love performance, and I love the spectacle and the virtuosity of dance. To me, it's still not about the performing of it. It's about letting someone witness my conversation between me and the gods. That to me is performance. Um, but yeah, I've struggled a lot with that word
Hmm.
because I know how it resonates or doesn't, or it's like an anti-buzzword for a lot of people. Um, they treat it as a noun, like I'm a dancer or not a dancer. And I think of it sometimes like food. My sister's a chef, and it's like we all can cook. We can all eat. Doesn't mean we are a cook or are a chef. I think the same thing is true with dance. We can all move and put on a song and work some stuff out. Doesn't mean we have to be a dancer or not a dancer.
Yeah, I get what you mean about the word dance and how it can be that could give someone instant, like, tension, like if they're at anywhere, maybe they're at an
Mm-hmm.
event. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh hey,
Mm-hmm.
let's dance. Like someone could completely, that could cause anxiety for someone because, like you're saying, it has these associations and um, their expectations that people have put on it. Like it's supposed to look a certain way and be a certain way. And um, so I love how you talk about it and just trying to break those down. And
Yeah.
because dance is just movement, and you can be dancing or experiencing dance through so many things that are not just on a floor with a DJ in the background.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
like, I love how you mentioned your sister who's a chef. Like, cooking is, that's a dance.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I think of athletes. I mean, I had one of my mentors, ex-Olympian. He wrote a beautiful book called Life Athlete, and it's about this idea, like undoing this idea of some people are athletes and some people aren't. It's like, no, we all have a body that's full of rhythm in our heart and in our lungs and in our thoughts and our circadian rhythms. We have rhythm. We're full of rhythm. We're born in rhythm, born into rhythm. Everyone has we are moving all the time, even if we're still, there's movement. So we all are athletes, maybe small a, but how can we live a life honoring that truth? And I say the same thing is true with dance. Same thing is true with singing. Same thing is true with cooking. Same thing is true with like planting some herbs. And it doesn't mean you have to be a gardener. It's just you're engaged with life in that way. And that makes it's a real uphill. I don't put it in war terms. Uphill battle. It's a struggle, um, because even I pause sometimes if I go to a public space. It's like, do I want to dance here? There's something very exposed and radical about that. And if I have some friends together, it's much easier. There's some safety in numbers. There's some, you know, which is why we need each other. Um,
Yeah,
but
there's
it's
a
interesting.
vulnerability to it
Exactly.
for sure.
I think it's interesting still how like yoga has become one of these things that's so embedded and blended that if someone's doing yoga on the beach, it's like no one double takes. Like, oh, cool, person doing yoga. Second, I start dancing on the beach, it's like a thing. It's a thing. It's different. Or even if I like sit in stillness, meditation, that's super radical too. Um, and I think it's great that yoga's become like brushing our teeth. It's just like normalized. It's become okay, cool. It's a daily habit that's good for you. And I hope that dance can become that. That's part of my path is can dance, can expression and stillness and meditation. Can those things meditations become kind of that, but it's still radical to do nothing. And it's still radical to express yourself. Those two things are still like very undomesticated, which is why it's dangerous. That's why I love it.
But you're so right. Like when you said it's so radical to do nothing. And it's like, oh my gosh, you're so right. And
And to do
oof,
nothing together. Like a lot of the end of my workshops or classes, like, can we just practice doing nothing together? You
yeah,
know how radical it is? Like 20 people just doing nothing. And it doesn't have to be even, I don't mean in like a shavasana, which is also nice, but just can we sit around do nothing
yeah.
for 5 minutes together? It's it's hard. It's so it's like, well, we have to fill the space with something. We have to
Hmm.
be like this cause and effect is so ingrained in our culture. It's like if we don't do anything, nothing's gonna happen. It's like, are you sure? Are you sure? Uh, let's try. Let's see.
Yeah, things are still happening when you're doing nothing.
Things are
We
still
need to
happening.
remember that.
It wasn't until I really started practicing doing less and like intentionally taking time to be in stillness and do less that my movement actually grew to a different place.
Mm,
That my It got more dynamic, it got more textured, it got more me, to be honest. It became more authentic, um, because I realized in that stillness, uh, I had a chance to undo patterns. We talked about nervous system stuff. It's an opportunity to reset because if we're just moving, we're also like perpetuating those grooves that are easy to find. And some of those grooves are great. Some of those patterns are great, but some of them aren't, or some of them I would like to shift.
hmm.
And if I don't go back to that foundation, into that stillness, into the before, it's hard to reset that. So that was my experience, and so a lot of my work is helping people work backwards and get back to the origin of something so that we can have a shift into something else. Um, as the teacher says, everyone wants to heal, but no one wants to change.
Mm.
And I think there's something, to
Yeah,
do those
that's
things,
good.
stillness and pausing. Quietness helps.
Hmm.
Help me. Help me a lot.
So you were talking about, I thought it was really cool when you were talking about how dance was a way for you to emote. And um, I know that you do you're involved in a workshop with Irene Lyon that's about emotional regulation, which I think is really cool. And I wanted to talk about that a little bit since, this episode is part of a series I'm putting together on self care. And that's why I wanted to talk to you about movement, because I think movement is so important, an important part of self care. And so I figured let's get into that now since you mentioned like nervous system regulation.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to talk about that and how dance or what you do or what you teach is how you teach nervous system regulation through dance.
Yeah, that's a sexy question. Um, so the workshop is called Up and Down, and we really mean that literally in all the ways in which up and down shows up in our life. So the very physical way of just going up and down from the ground, um, which is why we named it that originally. There was a study came out of Brazil, I think in 2012, that was a longitudinal study. So it took people over, I think, a couple decades, different ages, but I think in general it was people over the age of 50. I could be wrong, but it wasn't kids. And it was testing the capacity to go from sitting to standing and back. And they were measuring that capacity. So that very simple, but not easy metric of human health. So what is tied into that? And they found everything's tied into that. Your cardiovascular health, your respiratory health, your lymph system, your immune system, your skeletal system, your nervous system, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's tied into your ability to go up from the ground and down. Their test was constrained by how many supports do you need? So basically, can you use less supports to go up and down? And what they found is it's very directly related to your not just your health, but how long you live. So it directly correlates to your mortality. And if you get better, your life is extended. So this is like really, it's like very like concrete, scientific, peer-reviewed evidence. Which in my world is affirming something that is already known, but it's nice to have science back it up. And so this is coming back to why we named it that, is because we see up and down as a version of physically going up and down, but also your emotional regulation, how you get triggered and come back, your resiliency, your elasticity, your capacity. Some of these nervous system words is what's your body's capacity to be activated and then come back, to go down into something that's more freeze, shut down, and then come back. So this sine wave of life, whether it's a day or a week or a decade, whatever, um, how we wake up, go through our day, and then can we come back and rest? Can we take a nap in the middle of the day? Can we come back? Can we eat, digest, rest? All these ways in which our sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system, to make it simple, follow this wave. So we named it Up and Down as a way to help people find more capacity and regulation in their nervous system, but also in all their systems. I think sometimes we get fixated on like the nervous system, the nervous system, the nervous system. But the truth is, the nervous system is one of the last systems to develop as when we're embryos, as beings, not embryos, but embryos into then being born. Our nervous system is very late in the development. Other systems are much earlier. So a nervous system for me is a way into the rest of the body. It's a way into everything. It's a doorway. It's an important doorway, but it's not the only doorway. So we developed this workshop. It wasn't called Up and Down in the beginning, but it became Up and Down when we realized that's what we're really doing. We're helping people ride this wave of life, find this groove that goes up and down, because it's not flatline. We don't want flatline. We don't want numb. We don't want that bypass. No, we want to ride those waves. It's good to go up and down. It's a little espresso, a little aperitivo. Like the ways in which we have these waves. And so what we do in the workshop to do that is we use these physical practices of Feldenkrais, which is a somatic practice of awareness.
Mm-hmm.
We use dance. I don't often call it that. It's like, can we find a rhythm in our breath? Can we match the rhythm of our breath to our movement? So it's a very deep Qigong principle of breath and movement together. And then can I take that and then play with you? Can I have that safe social engagement, whether it's in duos or trios in the group? So it's about engaging with the the environment. It's about orienting to the space around us. Is that space around us safe enough to converse? Is the space inside safe enough to express? So we use these different tools: movement, rhythm, the ground, the space, each other, the group, our sensory organs to see and hear and smell. Um, and we play, we play, we play, we play. We keep bringing everything back to play. Because if we can play, it means we're curious. If we're curious, it means there's safety. And if there's safety, it means there's learning. And if there's learning, that means there's growth and transformation. Um, and we don't always explicitly name all these things, but it's baked into the pie. Um, so it is a workshop for nervous system regulation. That's what it's called. Um, but it's for all the systems. It's about building bone health and supporting your weight with the ground. It's about building respiratory capacity and your ability to really take a full breath because you're also moving into the space. You're breathing with the space. It's not just Elia breathing, it's the space breathing through Elia. Um, and it's something I love the work in the workshop, and it's beautiful to um, see people really drop into themselves over the course of 3 or 4 days, and you see a shift. I mean, it's also it there's integration that happens in real time. So people by the end, in the beginning, it's like people unsure of themselves, each other, and by the end, it's like people don't want to leave the room because there's a containment and a safety in that space. Um, so it's kind of the origin of Up and Down and sort of the intention behind the workshop. Um, and it's a very beautiful, unique blend of these different things. Um, and I love that it stays very simple in its intention. It's like, can we show up? Can we stay present? Can we play? Can we be curious? Can we engage? Um, and there's a lot of space to, if you need to go sit down, rest in the corner, you do that. If you need to take a walk outside, you do that. So this nervous system regulation stuff built into the structure of the workshop. Um, we call it the life shop, everything that happens not in the workshop. So like at lunch, are you integrating those things? Are you taking time to really taste the food? To, as someone says, a philosopher says, eating is the art of turning what is not you into you. So that's deep integration. Um, Seeing people from when the workshop ends in the afternoon to the next morning, how do you keep digesting that meal? Not literally, but like the meal of the workshop. How does it go into the way you interact with people or your family, or because at the end of the day, that to me is what's really important. Again, coming back to how we shift something in our culture, that we don't just play and stay curious and create safety from 9 to 5 in the workshop, but actually that's just a trampoline for everything else. Yeah, that shines some light on the workshop.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. Um, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like a sample day, like we'd show up, and the first thing we do is start with a small little game. A game. I really believe in games. And for some people, that's like, oh my God, no. And other people are like, oh my God, yes. And I love it's like, great. We need that spectrum. Already we're dealing with everyone has a different nervous system. Awesome. Let's start from there. And then we do a lot of the Feldenkrais is developmental movements. So stuff that's about rolling, stuff that's about flexion and extension. These very deep, like inside the womb, coming out into the world. Um, so it also gets, even though we don't explicitly say it, we're getting into early childhood, early developmental, generational stuff through this accessible place. And that to me is really the wisdom of the workshop. Is you don't have to talk about, we don't have to use the words trauma. We can, but we can just also work on it without, it's implicitly in all of it. Um, and I think that's really powerful. People can drop into an experience. Like like a workshop is about dropping into an experience. It's not reading a book. It's not about the cognitive understanding.
Yeah. Um, I feel like there's so many things that came up there that I want to talk about. So let me
That was
pick
a
a
lot of
couple.
words. Huh?
Let me pick a couple. Well, one, so you mentioned, so a couple of words that jumped out at me were, intention,
Mm-hmm.
this moving with intention, and being present. So, and there are things that came up for me when I was thinking about talking about movement for an episode, because I thought, I don't want to just talk about exercise. Everybody talks about exercise, and some people don't want to exercise. And I want to talk about movement, just movement and the power of movement. And just in the same way that you talk about dance, it's a spectrum. There are so many things that are dance, there's so many things that are movement that are really good for us. And, um, and then I also thought some people might say, well, I move plenty during the day. I get my 10,000 steps in, I'm moving, so I'm good. And when I think about that, I think, all right, well, that's like you're walking around the house, you're going to work, you're walking from the parking lot, you're walking around the store. And while those things have physical benefits for your cardiovascular system and muscles, and I just feel like there's a difference when, in those situations you're moving, your focus is on your destination, not on the movement. And I feel like there's a difference, a real difference, when your focus is on the movement. And that's kind of something I wanted to ask your thoughts on, because when we're doing a lot of our movement through our day, we're not present. Where our focus might not even be on the destination, it might be on 100 other things where we have to go after that, where we just, like all over the place. Um, and there's a different there's a different benefit for our mental health and our spiritual health when we can be present and we're moving for the sake of the movement. Um, so anyway, I was curious your thoughts on that on that
Yeah.
as far as
Wow.
how that helps us, you know, feel better.
So threading back through some of the work in Up and Down and what Feldenkrais, who was a person, was Moshe Feldenkrais. His lessons are called awareness through movement, called ATMs. And so, like as a jumping off point for what you're talking about, is really important. Is there's movement. Well, what's the purpose of it? Is the purpose to gain awareness, or is the purpose to get 10,000 steps?
Mm-hmm.
And they're both okay. What I'm interested in, and what I think is, I'm in this year of my life, I'm dedicated to finding balance and laughing. Those are my two goals. And in terms of balance, like always seeing something from where the perspective of where is it out of balance, what rebalances it. And I think we have a lot of the 10,000 steps part of our life. That's
Mm-hmm.
very the destination, the counting the reps, the push-ups, the curls, the heart rate. I mean, everything is metricized, everything is optimized. That's not about awareness. Awareness is the ability to be in that moment. You said the word presence. So I think it's a powerful word, and also like this sort of metaphysical, like where's presence? Like grounded. It's like it's to me the ability to not go into the future, not go back into the past, leave what's past is past, don't touch next, stay right here without any form. That to me is a really important thing. Is can we stay here without any needing to make it any particular thing? Can we just be here in this decisive experience? That to me is presence. So if I'm walking, as an example, and I try to do this, one of my practices is take a walk after dinner for digestion, to walk off the day, but also like at the end of the day, maybe I'm not. There's no destination. So it's a chance to practice, can I just be in this act of moving through the world, through the night sky. Um, what's the rhythm of my walk? What's my breath? What are the thoughts coming up? So it's an awareness through walking, as opposed to walking for exercise or walking for ambition to feel good about, you know, I got these many steps. So that's one thing, um, is bringing presence to the moment. And that to me is awareness. And that can happen in anything. You can also do that through push-ups. You can also, yeah. I think in when I played sports, and the best athletes, is this moment where you're like in the zone, where everything slows down, like the time and the things dissolve away, and it's just you're in the flow. You know, we have that term. You're in the flow. You're in the groove. You're in the pocket of the music. You're in the pocket of that moment. And I tell people, I go, honestly, I don't tell everyone, but if they ask, I don't like to give unsolicited advice. But if they solicit it, I say, stop doing stuff you don't enjoy, like physically. Stop it. Just, just why? There, what do you enjoy doing? If there are things you enjoy doing, do those things. Don't do things you don't enjoy doing, because you're going to be fighting. You're going to be working through discomfort and pain, which is also not good for your being. You're going to be ignoring the feedback, which is your body saying, I'm not enjoying doing this. Of course, if you're training for a marathon, you want to climb a mountain, there are certain things you need to do. But as a daily practice, it's like find the things that you enjoy doing and do those things. And I think joy and fun are overlooked, undervalued. Um, we sort of poo-poo them as simple and not important. It's like fun is it's like if you're having fun, you're present. If you're having fun, you're engaged. If you're having fun, you're integrated. All these things we want, you have it. So find the things physically that you enjoy, that bring you joy, that are fun, um, and do those. If not all the time, at least most of the time. Because also doesn't have to be, you bring it to self care, and this that to me is a version of self care. Self care isn't just you know using good lotions and taking a nap and slowing down. It is those things, and it's also like having fun, enjoying pleasure, and specifically in exercise, finding what that means to you. Some people that's rock climbing, some people that's taking a hike, some people that's playing basketball, dancing. There's many versions of fun and joy and pleasure. And I think those should be the goals, not how many steps, not did you get your heart rate to a certain level. Um, those are all cognitive, those are all concepts. And to me, this is not about concept. This is about the, the somatic, the body, the visceral, the emotional. So that's how I try to frame it for people. Because also, if you enjoy it, you'll keep doing it. It's a lot of these things that you start and then you stop. But why do you stop? Well, I didn't really enjoy it. I didn't feel good. Yeah, okay, exactly. If it does feel good and you do enjoy it, you're probably going to keep doing it. So there's like a functional, deeply functional element to that, which is why I still dance. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. So that's why I do it. And
Yeah.
yeah, as one of my friends says, your dance will never betray you, meaning it's always there for you. I think for a lot of it's like music, for musicians, it's there, it's medicine. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, that's a perspective on exercise that's changed for me. I used to I'll stop. I'll pause after this. It's like I used to have a very regimented practice, and I loved it, and it helped me grow a lot of physical tools. And I was training 4 hours a day for 10 years. So an hour of qigong, hour and a half sometimes. Do an hour and a half of like specific like speed training, power training, different movement modalities, crawling across the floor, jumping, touching stuff, parkour-ish stuff, rolling. like some these developmental practices, but then like sped up and turned up to a more dynamic level. And then an hour 15 minutes of just pure improv and expression, seeing what comes out. And then like heat, cold, sauna, cold bath, like, and it was great. And then the pandemic happened, and I had to shift my practice. And now my practice is like I meditate before breakfast, I try to take a nap after lunch, and I walk after dinner. And sometime during the day, I try to dance. Like it's a, and maybe that will shift, but in terms of the way I approach my practice, it's turned into more how do I compose my day so that at night uh, I can rest. Like really, how do I compose my life so at the end I can say thank you very much. I have no complaints, and go to the other side. So that's where I'm at. You know, to I don't want to proselytize. Just that's what how I compose my day at this point. And of course, sometimes you can't do that, and that's okay too. Being okay
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah.
Okay,
um,
I woke up late. It's not gonna happen today. Okay, let go, accept, and move on.
it's all okay.
It's
Um,
all okay.
Before I get too far and forget, I had asked you to bring a quote. You want to share that with us
Yeah,
now?
this is a
That'd
this
be
is the
great.
hardest thing you asked.
Oh, no.
I had so many calls like this one, this one, this one. Uh, I'll share this one. Um, it's from it's from a man, I think from the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. I think is when he did his work. I think he lived in the somewhere in the Caribbean, the French Antilles. I think he was a black French national, but I don't know if he was born on the island. Anyway, he did a lot of deconstruction of colonialism work, um, but also adjacent to the arts and seeing the arts as necessary to change politics and revolution. And he had a quote. Edward Glissant is his name. Edward Glissant. He said, "There is no truth, only living. There is no truth, only living." And I was like, ooh, it's just like exploded my heart. Um, I think in this moment in 2024, when everyone is about their truth and we're actually not really living, we're deadened a lot by media, by screens, by being told what to think, being told what to do. Um, it's this for me. It's a very radical recapturing of your own life, of life itself, of this thing that is passing through us. The universe is moving through us for this short time. How do we really embrace that and stop attaching ourselves and limiting ourselves and boxing ourselves into this truth or this distruth or proving this truth wrong or affirming this truth? Or it's like, let go of that. How can we really let go of that binary way of existing and live, live, live with compassion, live with empathy, live with solidarity and justice and love, but live it, not the truth of it. So sometimes I don't like to explain the quotes, but I wanted to explain for me what it means.
No,
Um,
I appreciate that.
yeah.
Um,
Um,
and I think that's really powerful because when you think about truth, like truth is not, and truths are not, they don't connect us. In fact, in many cases, they disconnect people. But something that connects us is life and living because it's something we all share, but we
okay.
don't share truths
Yeah.
because we all have our own.
Yeah.
And you're right, like you mentioned, like we argue about whose truth is the right truth. And so
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
it's like truths, I feel like create disconnection and recognizing what does connect us, what we do have in common, which is living.
Yes.
Very, very simple and basic. Um, it's just much more just a lot, just a much more powerful way to see each other and connect with another. So,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, I totally resonated with what you were saying about truths, and it goes back to like we're saying about perception. The,
Mm-hmm.
if you if you witness a car accident and if 10 people witnessed it, you're going to have 10 different accounts, and which one is right? I mean, they're
Mm-hmm.
all right because
Mm-hmm.
you can't tell someone else that their experience is wrong because that's their
Mm-hmm.
experience.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway,
Yeah, I think
yeah,
it's it, I think it's tricky, or it can be nuanced also because it's also I think we're so fixated on the truth that we don't value the life, and that to
mm,
me is where the justice comes in. And that's part of in today's world we care more about being right than taking care of people,
yeah,
and we actually undervalue life and we overvalue truth. We undervalue life and we overvalue being right, and and also right, whatever that is, our version of right.
yeah,
And it's like, what if we put the humanity first? We put the compassion first, without the need to understand, even without the need to be right. I might never understand that person, but can I honor that life? Can I honor that humanity? Can we join on the similarities of what it is to thrive, to have enough safety and food and water and love and touch, and then integrate the differences, because all we're doing now is highlighting the differences and losing that humanity, and that to me is sad, it's tragic. And so I mean, all the way back to we started about what dance is, it's a version of that quote. It's like it's a way to practice that for me. When I dance, I watch people. It's like there's no truth in dance, like, but it is an affirmation of life. It is a witnessing of life. It is a protection. When I'm watching someone else dance, I'm protecting their capacity to express life, regardless of truth or if I like it or don't like it. Who cares? It doesn't matter. So, yeah. Thank you, Mr. Glisson. Your wisdom
yeah.
passes through to today.
Did you? I I feel like I've seen that name recently.
I
Did you
put
happen?
something in a
Did you?
newsletter.
I
Yeah,
was going to say, did you
I
quote him in a
did.
newsletter? Because
I did.
when I asked you for a quote, I thought, man, Elia always has great quotes because I've been getting your newsletter for a while, and there's always a really awesome quote in it.
Yeah.
Um,
Thank you.
but yeah, I remember seeing his name.
He had
Uh,
another thing that I loved. I'm sneaking my other quote in, which is something like something about the capacity to I can exchange with others without sacrificing my without losing myself. And I was like,
mm-hmm,
yes, that to me exactly is what the up and down workshop is. It's what
yeah,
a conversation is about. Is how can we exchange? Doesn't mean I lose myself. This idea of if I'm gonna exchange, I'm gonna sacrifice. It's like no. How can we just exchange? How can we
mm-hmm,
engage in this currency of communication? I thought that was very apropos for this moment too.
yeah,
Not zero
absolutely,
sum.
yeah. So, I we could go off in a lot of different directions, and I could probably chat for hours, but I want to try to stay on track with self care because what I'm what I see or hear, a lot of people will say, "Well, I don't have time. Like I can't add another thing to my day." So I wanted to ask you about maybe for people who don't have a regular, I don't know, movement practice or maybe even a presence practice in their day. What's something that we could do that's, let's say, they get in their car after work and like I like when you said you take a walk after dinner and you're kind of walking off the day. Like I'm curious about maybe a a short, simple little movement that someone could do sort of with that same purpose, like sort of transitioning. Like, okay, I'm gonna shake off the work or whatever I just left and transition into my next thing, whether it's home or family or whatever. And um, maybe if it's like 1 minute, 2 minutes, like, and then as we do that more, like maybe they'll do it for 5 minutes, though,
Mm-hmm.
then maybe they'll do it for 10 minutes, and that's, but it's, we have to start somewhere. You have to take the first step, right?
Yep.
So I wanted to, because I know you've got lots of things,
Yep.
lots of movement ideas. And um, when we did, when I first met you, I mean, quote unquote, met you. I didn't actually talk to you, but you did a workshop. You were one of the speakers. And
Uh-huh.
when you did these half-hour movement circles, they were so, I mean, it was a half an hour and it was like super great. And I wasn't jumping around and sweating. It was very just flow and being present and simple movements. But the way I felt after was I felt grounded. I felt uplifted. I felt like sort of a reset. So
Mm-hmm.
I know that you don't have to spend a lot of time. It can be simple. So I'm looking for a quick little Elia movement to give people to, like, hey, here's how you can start just sort of centering and resetting with a quick movement, to take care of yourself.
Yeah. Let's use the example you framed. Um, I think 1 minute is great. 1 minute is infinitely more than 0 minutes. I studied math. That's a truth. Uh, and even if it never goes more than 1 minute, 1 minute is a lot. It's a lot. Um, I mean, imagine a 1 minute, plank. It feels like forever. So 1 minute, a lot can happen. 1 minute of awareness is a lot. So let's use examples. You finish work and you go into your car. You're gonna drive home or somewhere else. And you said it in the word. You said, "How can you just shake off the day?" That's the first thing I do. It's a little shake,
Okay.
kind of like a dog. People think that dogs are doing that only to like clean. It's like a hygiene or getting rid of the dirt or the sand or the water. It's a nervous system reset. It's
Okay.
that's what they're doing. Uh, so I would do that. I take a few moments and just I don't know, shake the hands,
Yeah.
wiggle the head, wiggle the spine, shake out the toes, the ankles. If you're sitting in the car, you don't have to feel exposed. Obviously, you can do it before you get in the car outside, but if that feels weird, then just go into the car and just shake off the day. Let it just. I mean, we have this phrase in English: shake it off. When something's frustrating, you shake it off. Even if it's not
Mm-hmm.
frustrating, you shake it loose. Um, it's a way to transition. So that's the first thing: shake. And the shake has no form. There's no right way. There's no wrong way. There's no codified way. There's no structure. It's really about resetting your cells. It's like when you shake up one of those snow globes. It's like you shake it up
Yeah.
and then you let the sediment settle. And as so, I'd shake for 30 seconds. Yeah, it's a minute. So I'd shake 5 seconds one hand, 5 seconds another hand, 5 seconds, 5 seconds, 5 seconds. However you want to add up to 30. And then I'd sit there for 10 seconds and just let that sediment settle. There's a little activation, so your heart rate will be moving, your breath might be moving. And then what I say every time I drive, I say this as a way to transition from where I was to where I'm going, and also to honor the fact that I'm now driving, so there's a different activity happening. I quote this Bedouin. Bedouins are nomads, so they know a lot about moving and transitioning and traveling. There's a phrase that says, "May you travel safe and swift on the footsoles of the wind." So I say that to myself before I drive. I go, okay, may I travel safe and swift. Because I want to get there fast. Don't want to get stuck in traffic. But I want to do it safe on the
Yeah.
footsoles of the wind, which means, can I have the universe at my back? Can I be one? It's not just me. It's not just I. It's about thou. It's the other. That's there's a lot of trust. You go and start driving. You have to trust other drivers. You have to trust the architects, the builders of the bridges, and so. And then your minute is done. Look, you've done some shaking. You've done some stillness. There's a little affirmation. There's a little prayer that I believe is in faith. Um, and then you go. And that 1 minute is a lot.
Yeah.
And that is a lot. So that would be my offering. Um,
Yeah. I, that's awesome. Thank you. I think that's a great, I think that's a great little exercise. I don't want to say exercise. It's a great little practice for someone to start. And even if they don't need a movement practice, even everyone could benefit from that, taking 1 minute to transition from where you were to where you're going. Um,
exactly.
and even just when you explained it, like there was a lot happening in 1 minute. So
But
I,
it feels so doable. It's like,
yeah,
okay, I can do that.
yeah,
Like you don't need to practice shaking. These things are so again coming back to the universality. It's not like there's you good or bad at that. There's not some skill you develop.
yeah,
No, it requires just enough commitment and intention. You could discipline. It's a fancy word, but like to do it. You know.
yeah,
Yes. So yeah, yeah. I hope that helps anyone.
yeah. Well, I love that. Um,
Thanks for asking. It's a beautiful question.
uh, all right. Let me see if there's anything else I wanted to. There's lots of things I want to talk about now. Um, well, so I know that there are some things you do, not just dance related, things that other people could get involved with you. And I understand you offer private sessions.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So I did a lot of private sessions in person when I worked at this sort of art of fitness boutique gym. And I brought in dance and qigong and elements of mobility and meditation and fitness to my clients. And then when the pandemic started, I shifted that work online, and it was a transition. Speaking of transitions, and something I was kind of dubious. I didn't think that we could do the stuff online, and I discovered no, that was my own limitation.
Mm,
And so now I offer a lot online. I offer um, workshops, I offer programs, and then I offer one-on-one sessions. And I meet people where they're at. I meet you where you're at. So that can be very different for different people. And I use my toolbox. My toolbox is a combination of listening. That's where I start from. It's like, where are you at? What's showing up for you? Like really listening and witnessing and reflecting someone back to themselves so they feel heard and they feel seen. Um, that to me is the starting point. It's building that trust, building that relationship of exchange. And then we can take it in a lot of different directions. With some people, we work a lot on um, joint mobility, joint strength. I work with people that are older, and it's like you want to carry your groceries until you're 85. So how do we do that? I want to be able to get down on the ground with my grandchild. How can I do that? Um, I want to be able to take a walk around the museum and have my knees feel better. How do I do that? So some people it's that focus. Other people it's a lot of emotional trauma work. It's like, hey, I'm going through this. I feel like I get activated. I don't know how to reset myself. I'm in this situation that feels like it triggers me. So sometimes I we work a lot on how do we build more emotional resilience and regulation. So we do practices from qigong and Taoism, working with the organs, working with the emotions. Um, this is where I'll put a plug in for Chinese medicine and Taoism and qigong, which is they never use the word trauma, um, but it works a lot with that, and they see trauma as a resource. It's not something to get rid of. It's something to resource as a verb. It's a resource and it's something to resource. It's like it's a mineral to mine. It's energy to be transformed. Don't waste it. that fear that's stuck in your kidneys, that anxiety and the worry that's stuck in your digestive system, that is energy that wants to move. It's emotion that has adhered and attached to the soft tissue, which is why it doesn't feel good. It's creating blockages or inflammation. Don't get rid of it. That's wasting it. It's like you don't get rid of the banana peel, you compost it. So you don't get rid of the plastic bottle, you recycle it. So I really love that perspective. It's really shifted my approach to how I work with people, how I work with myself. What's showing up? How do we honor that, recognize it, transform it? Because energy is energy is energy. So that's a long way of saying some people one-on-one work with that. Um, other people I do like come and want specific. I want to build a qigong practice, so we spend 6, 8, 10 sessions building them out at practice. So that's really fun to do too. Is like sort of helping people create a little infrastructure around their their lifestyle. Um, some people want to come as like, I'd like to feel better dancing. I'd like to be able to hear music and move. It seems like something that would feel good for me, and I always am scared of dance, and I don't know how to dance, but underneath, I want that. And I think they're the voice of something, which is, I think it's like tomorrow. If you asked everyone, if you could wake up tomorrow and just, you know, be a better dancer, who would say no to that? It's like if you ask tomorrow, do you want to feel just a little better in your own skin when you wake up tomorrow? Who's gonna be like, nah, I prefer not to. It's like, no, of course not. I'm gonna say yes to that. You
Yeah.
can wake up tomorrow and speak more languages. Do you want that? And not like, nah, I don't want that. It's like, no, of course. So, but the courage to then act on that intention, that desire. So I've worked with people on this is how we just start hearing a beat. And it's like we have rhythm inside of us. So it's not that you don't have rhythm. You don't have two left feet. You have a foot here and a foot there. It's about how do we attune our inside body to the outside music. It's an exchange, it's an attunement, so it's nervous system regulation. Dance as nervous system regulation. And then we start walking on a beat, just walking. And then we take that walk forwards. Maybe we take the walk backwards. Maybe we take the walk to the side. Maybe we take the walk in a circle. We speed the walk up. We slow the walk down. And then all of a sudden, after 1, 6, 10 sessions, they feel more at ease in their ability to be in rhythm, to be in that groove. And then from there we can take it a little more to, so what are you feeling today? How do you use that music and that rhythm to find your own expression, to release some stuff that's stuck? So I'd say that's um, how I work one-on-one. Is it depends on the person, depends on what they want. I don't have like a package like you come for this and you get this and this. It's not a spa package. I really meet people where they're at, and we build from there using the different tools that I have and my unique integration of those things. I'm really proud of that. This is integration of dance, of body work, of self massage. Sometimes we work with acupressure, helping release pressure points, helping people learn. It's like no one can touch you if you can't first feel comfortable touching yourself. So there's also this element of making touch available again. Uh, yeah, that's and it's amazing. It works online. It's incredible. I never would have thought that. That was a discovery the last 4 years. Um, and it works because people can feel safe in their own space doing it, find their own time. They don't have to drive and find a parking space. And I mean, I love doing stuff in person, but we can have both. It's
Yeah.
abundance, we can have both.
And if somebody wants to check this out or learn more about you, how can they find you?
Yeah, you can find me at my name.com, eliamrak.com. Also on Instagram, it's my name at Elia Mrak. Uh, I just finished. I am finishing a 10-week online course. It was the first time I ran it. I'm going to run it again this fall. And it has, speaking of self care, it's a 10-week program called Movement Medicine. And each week is a different chapter. One of the weeks is about mobility. Which is, again, how do we feel better in our joints? How do we learn how to bear weight? How do we feel more ease in our movement? One of the chapters is on qigong, which is this ancient healing art of Chinese medicine. One of the chapters is on dance and how I described it. And one of the chapters is called self-care. And it's different meditative practices, touch practices, emotional trauma work. Uh, so that's I'm really proud of that work. It took 4 years to build. It all has original music from different musicians I have. Each video is 20 minutes, so it's like you can fold it into your life. Some videos are 10 minutes. There's live classes, there's live Q&As, there's a community. You can ask questions, and I moderate questions. So it's a whole integrative thing. So that's happening this fall 2024, movement medicine. Um, and you can reach out, do stuff one-on-one, and I do online drop-in workshops too. Um, I'm
Yeah,
also
you're
running a sorry,
yeah, I was gonna say you seem like a pretty busy guy because
I
you're
am.
also now you also have a podcast
I do.
that I the Improvised Live.
Yes.
I checked out the first episode and it was really special, I have to say.
Hmm.
Like I kind of felt like I was like a fly on the wall in a room where a few like close friends are hanging out, and it felt, there was a lot of vulnerability.
Uh-huh.
There were a lot of things you all talked about that resonated. It felt very relatable. So I thought I wanted to mention that because I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. This is a brand new like territory for me, and I discovered I really like talking about this stuff. Like I always talked about it in teaching and in the education work I do. And I was like, I really like this medium, and I that surprised me. I didn't think I would, um, and so I decided to just go for it. And so working on building a catalog of more episodes so that there's a full bibliography there for people to check out. But thank you for saying that. It was kind of one of those things where inspiration is not eternal. And so when you feel inspired, go for it. And I was like, okay, gonna bring a couple close friends and just see what this is, not knowing what it will be, but starting from the heart and just trusting in that. So I thank you for mentioning that. Thank you for saying that. Yeah, and the improvised life. I believe deeply in that. That's my intention and how I want to live. So
Yeah. Yeah, it was very cool. I look forward to checking out more episodes. And something else I saw that you also are um, going to be doing a retreat also
yeah,
in the fall, right?
yes, this is really exciting. So I'm gonna. It's good practice for me. Sometimes I forget to plug. I forget to communicate the things. I can talk about all the things, and people are like, well, okay, how do I do that stuff? So one of my goals, in addition to balance and laughter, is doing some in-person retreats. Like it's not just like workshops or all-day workshops, but a place where you go and it's a group of people and we go through a week together, maybe 5 days. But this one's a week. It's in Portugal, southern Portugal, which is an extraordinarily beautiful place. And it came about because one of my friends, who is a yoga teacher, yoga therapist, a beautiful spirit, um, proposed it as an idea. And I was like, absolutely, let's do this. Let's mix yoga and qigong and movement and meditation. Um, and then we were like, and let's make it be like, how can we make a full integrated experience? So let's find a space that can contain that and food. That's really important. And I ended up reaching out to my little sis. This isn't nepotism. She's really talented. And she does this for a living. She's a chef, and she really understands the power of food to help tell story, to help support engagement and gathering. And I've never worked with my sister before, but as someone I deeply trust, and we share a lot of the same ethos and goals, we just have different mediums to do that. So this year, in the fall, October 26th to November 2nd, we're going to run a week-long retreat in this beautiful, beautiful, incredible place. It's a villa in southern Portugal. The Algarve region. It's like whitewashed cliffs, there's old fishing villages. It's very quaint and beautiful. And it's going to be a week about restoration and refreshing and rejoicing with 12 people. So it's a very small group. We decided to have it be very familial in the energy of it, so that we share meals together, and we every day there's a couple different ways of engaging with self-care and movement and flow, and then also time for integration on your own. It's like a gorgeous place to walk around, to take a nap, to sit and do nothing. Um, so yeah, that's a it's a I'm really excited for that. It's about the collaboration also. I really believe that really great things we can't do alone. We need other people, and I'm proud to be working with these two lovely ladies. One is Yeva, the other is Eva, and one is Elia. So uh, it's called In Spirit is the name of the retreat. Uh, you can
Yeah, it
see
sounds amazing.
my website and yeah, and newsletter. Thank you for mentioning that because I love my newsletter. I share it every week. It's my own external processing of my internal world, and
I love your newsletter too, I have to
so
say.
thank you.
I love it. It's so everyone, if all you do is sign up for the newsletter, I'm telling you, it's important, it's special, it's I feel like it's just the right length, and
Mm-hmm.
the writing that you share from your notebooks is
Mm-hmm.
always just very moving. There's always a great quote. There's always a great song.
Yep,
So
exactly. I mentioned there's little goodie bags. Yeah, every week
yeah,
I want it to be additive to your life. So thank you for naming it like that. I appreciate that. And I have people that I love that write to me like, I get a lot of newsletters, but yours is the only one I really read because it's short enough that's I can
yeah.
do the whole thing in 5 minutes.
It's easy to
So
digest. So
yeah, thanks. Thank you. It's been like 5 years now, and it's really my like weekly rhythm. And I
yeah.
love writing. So writing's I always have a journal. I carry a journal in my little bag everywhere I go. Um, so I sometimes I literally just share from what I write. Like hands if I can still read my hand scribbled notes. I'm like, what was that? So
Yeah, it's
the
always
newsletter.
yeah, it's cool. I appreciate you doing it every week because it's like I said, it's pretty special.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So thank you.
I'm gonna do the life athlete thing again, just to circle back to how we came into contact. I'm gonna do that again this fall. Um,
The Life Architect,
sorry, life, yeah,
is that?
life architect, yeah,
Oh, okay, okay.
yeah.
Um, is it the same workshop?
I
Is
think
it
they're tweaking some things, but it's the
okay?
same overall idea. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
okay. It was somatic. It was integrating somatic techniques in therapy. It was a great workshop. Yeah, it was a good group of people. So
yeah,
that's cool. Yeah,
yeah. I
I'm glad
enjoyed
to
those
hear.
sessions a lot.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was happening fully in the rest of the workshop. I knew this. I kind of saw the syllabus, but I wasn't
Okay.
involved in that stuff. But I
Yeah.
loved that half hour. I was like, and I felt it was really of service to you and the other participants. Of like, I feel like there's a lot of intellect and cognition and education, and this was just a different way in. It was like a little breath of fresh air. That was also a sense I had.
Yeah, for sure. And I thought I was really appreciative that they included that in. I think it was just a great component of a course like this because typically these courses, we're learning different techniques for, we're all different types of practitioners in some
Mm-hmm.
kind of mental health capacity. And it's a lot of learning. It's
Mm-hmm.
a lot of a lot of learning to absorb. And I thought it was really cool to once a week, it was really just about us and reconnecting with
That's a couple.
ourselves and a little reset. So I thought it was a really cool component to integrate into a course like that. So, um, yeah, so yeah, and I'm
That's
glad you
nice
were
feedback.
a
That's good.
part of it. It was yeah, I mean, I wish, um, more educational courses would kind of throw something like this in there
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
it's just like we're talking about self care. Like, you learn all these ways to help clients, but then don't forget, take a minute, take care of yourself, So it was nice to have that every week, that
Yeah.
little reminder, like, remember, take care of yourself too.
That's profound. One of my best friends, he works in hospital chaplaincy, so basically the spiritual and emotional care
Yeah.
of the hospital. And what's fascinating, I didn't I didn't realize this. I didn't think about it. He spends more time um, in service of the doctors and nurses than he does of the patients.
Uh,
Uh, working working with their own emotional and spiritual well-being, because you're around a lot of suffering and pain and death, and it's like, oh yeah, like gotta take care of the people that are taking care of the people.
yeah,
And so,
exactly.
as you're saying it, it's really, anyone out there who's in the practitioner world, the therapeutic education, healing art, whatever. Um, don't forget about you. You
Right.
need to take care of you first, actually. Otherwise,
Yeah.
there's not capacity, there's not a surplus of energy to share and to give. And then you just get depleted and then we lose you. And I see that happens a lot. The burnout is real. Um, and yeah, we don't need he- healing martyrs. We need like people that have you know receive what they need to keep doing what they do. And so I
Hmm.
think I also think about for myself. I take a lot. I take a lot of workshops. I have own people that I reach out to for my own physical and spiritual, emotional health, and I didn't understand that earlier in my life, how important that was for me
Yeah.
to recharge, to be a student, to be a recipient, to be a client, um, to refill that glass, um, to work
Yeah.
through stuff,
That's a nice, yeah.
shadows I can't see because it's me. Um,
Yeah. I mean, that was a nice way to say it to, refill your glass. Sometimes I talk about it like a sort of like a bank account for,
mm,
for different things. Like, I have my social bank account and then I have my, there's like your work account and like we're always withdrawing and withdrawing and withdrawing to pay and pay and
yes,
pay all these people. But if we don't replenish it, there's nothing left to pay
exactly,
out.
exactly,
So
exactly.
it's kind of the whole idea of self-care. However you do it,
Yes,
the
self care is
purpose
not for
is
someone else. Who was
the
it?
exactly the purpose is to recharge yourself, replenish your account so that
Exactly.
you can keep doing and giving.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So
And it's modeling. To me, it's like if you're modeling behavior, if you're not doing it, like you're giving advice, you're not doing it though. And I tell people that want to teach, don't teach something you don't practice. That's the first rule.
mm,
Don't share stuff you practice. You don't have to be an expert. You don't have to have, I mean, I believe in reps and experience, but share stuff that you practice
yeah,
because it will come not just from your head, but from your whole being, and that will transmit deeper and more richly. Um, and just the way you show up is already modeled in that way.
yeah,
So
100%.
yeah,
Thank you. Um, well, thank you again for taking the time to hang out with me. This was just really, really great conversation.
yes, I look forward to these opportunities to talk because it takes me to other places. Finding
Yeah,
the words about some stuff that it doesn't have words is a really beautiful practice. I love that challenge and that space to do that, and the communication of this work that I love and believe in, and making it accessible for people. So people listening, I hope um, you're still here. Thanks for being here. Thanks for tuning in. Um, this work that you're doing is really important. The self care is like I love the series. Um, I'm not just biased because I do the same thing. It's like self care, self care, self care.
yeah.
So thank you. Truly, I'm grateful. I'm honored.
Well, thank you again for being here. And to everyone listening, as always, you are enough just as you are, and you are loved. Make a great day.